The camp's over a little bit earlier this time, a couple of days or 3 days earlier than usual. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, the boys and the team typically go on Sunday before the fight, giving them exactly a week sort of thing before game time. But Israel, Brad and Mike Angav are going to leave tonight actually. So what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4 nights before they usually leave. So 3 or 4 days extra time to kind of acclimatise and stuff. We find it takes typically about a week to get used to the kind of time zone and sleeping in the right time zone. So they're going to give themselves a few extra days to adjust. Just try something different.
Is that at the expense of UFC, or do you have to cough that up yourself?
No, I mean the UFC's, they're a business, so they take care of what they have to take care of. But if we want to spend a little bit of extra time there, then that's on us. So, the boys will be staying in some nice hotel somewhere in Scottsdale for sure.
Are you happy with the progress because it's been a disrupted camp with what happened with Fo?
Yeah, I'm very happy with where we are going into this fight, given all the circumstances. I think we're going to use that as a really positive motivator for us to help us get through and get these victories in this fight. I think it's going to help us rather than hinder us.
Are you expecting anything special from, we talk about Israel for a starter, is there anything that you particularly have to watch out for?
I mean, every fight every fight with Israel is typically on the edge of your seat kind of thing. Like, the guy has an infinite amount of tools and weapons and techniques of which the world has only seen 5 to 10% of. Yeah, there's so many things we've worked on over the last decade plus that he hasn't had the opportunity or the right time to use yet. And you're always those things are always capable of presenting themselves, so you just never know.
I spoke to Izzy just before. He seems to be like really geared up for this one. It's a little bit personal. There seems to have been some back and forth between them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there's an argument out there. There's an argument out there that Israel needs that. The one fight where we didn't have much of that going on was the last one, which we lost. So maybe Israel needs a little bit of that. Only time will tell. But I mean, he's highly motivated for this, given the events that have happened, and given what went on between him and Vettori, and given that they incorrectly judged this fight last time, and said that it was close when Israel felt, he won fairly comfortable. I think Israel wants to go out there and prove a point and put on a clinic.
Is that a worry for you, that he might get carried away and go outside the game plan, or are you trusting him to read it out there in the middle when, in between rounds you tell him what to do and then he goes out there, and are you happy that he'll read it right, or you prefer him to stay to the game plan?
I'm not sure how many people, how big the roster is in the UFC. But I don't think there's another fighter that has had 100 plus fights. Not a single one. I think he's the only one that he is the most experienced combat sports athlete in that whole roster by a country mile. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone. There's obviously Loma from Tiger, but I don't think she being a female Thai fighter, I don't think she reached. Her numbers weren't like the rest of the male Thais. I think Israel is just too experienced to let that kind of thing happen. Yeah.
Brad, I've always taken a lot of interest in Brad, and to me, he seems to be moving better and hitting harder. Is it possible that he's hitting harder now than he has done before?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing about Brad is he's a very learned guy. He likes to know what he's doing. He likes, and that not just in terms of strategy, tactics, techniques, but also he likes to learn about his body and the science of training and athletics and the mental side of the sport. He does a lot of breath work. He's a guy that leaves no stone unturned. He takes care of absolutely everything, but he also wants to know, he wants a pretty deep knowledge of exactly what he's doing, so he has a complete understanding, so that he's 100% sure of himself and that he's not doing something that might inhibit what his goals are, and doing something that's going to add to what he's trying to achieve. Yeah, so he for sure is a guy that just constantly improves, and he does that through arming himself with more and more knowledge.
So you leave happy?
I leave happy in terms of the fights. I always leave my country a little sad, my friends and family, especially the way the world is now. But I also love these events, and I love jumping in big fights. But that quarantine is something that I'm not looking forward to. That makes me a little sad, but that's just part of life nowadays. So yeah, I do leave happy. Nah.
After this fight?
Nah, we won't do it. We stirred the pot enough, Tony, with Robert. Robert, and thank you for entertaining me with those interviews, but no, yeah. I actually went on an interview yesterday and I told everybody the truth, that I can't keep it up. You know, someone like Israel can keep that kind of shit up for a year, but that's my career in trolling over. And thank you for entertaining that. It was fun while it lasted.
Okay.
Yeah, Robert is, he's not getting the next shot, doesn't deserve it. Back into the pool with the rest of the guys.
Good on you, mate.